the morning streets of New York City have a peculiar way of hiding the extraordinary beneath the guise of the completely mundane. On any given Wednesday, the bustling pavements of Brooklyn are filled with thousands of individuals hurried or relaxed, each carrying their own quiet triumphs and heavy burdens, entirely anonymous to the world sweeping past them. It is within this chaotic backdrop of concrete and brick that the private lives of the cultural elite occasionally spill into the open air, transformed from intensely personal experiences into public spectacles dissected by millions. In the modern age of media, a single photograph captured on a standard city block can carry the weight of a monumental shift in the landscape of popular culture, transforming an ordinary stroll into a historical marker. For those who operate at the very pinnacle of the entertainment industry, the boundary between the private sanctuary of domestic life and the unforgiving glare of the public eye is remarkably thin, often dissolving over the course of a single morning. The world of high-profile relationships is a complex tapestry woven from public appearances, curated social media footprints, and the unspoken spaces between them, where the smallest deviation from the expected norm can trigger a wave of global speculation. It is a realm where silence speaks volumes, and where the most ordinary objects can suddenly become charged with profound meaning, captivating an audience that is constantly searching for clues beneath the carefully polished surface of celebrity existence. At the center of this modern cultural phenomenon is a figure who has quietly reshaped the acoustic identity of an entire generation, a musical visionary whose influence stretches across the most successful records of the decade. This creator, celebrated for an innate ability to translate raw human emotion into multi-platinum anthems, has long maintained a reputation for a grounded, unpretentious lifestyle that stands in stark contrast to the glittering excess of the pop stars who rely on his unique genius. To understand the gravity of the whispers now circulating through the upper echelons of the entertainment world, one must appreciate the rare position this artist occupies, balancing immense industry power with a desire for a relatively normal existence away from the flashing cameras of Hollywood. As we dive deeper into the unfolding narrative that has captured the attention of millions across the globe, we invite you to become a permanent part of our community by subscribing to this channel, ensuring you never miss the intricate details and deep analytical breakdowns of the stories shaping contemporary culture. Navigating the complex labyrinth of high-profile romance requires a careful examination of the subtle signs that the casual observer might easily overlook. From the changing usernames on digital platforms to the choice of companions at major industry events. In the relentless cycle of modern media, where news breaks in fractions of a second and public perceptions can shift instantly, the true story is often found not in the official press releases, but in the quiet, unguarded moments documented on the streets of the city. This ongoing exploration of fame and human connection allows us to look past the glitz and glamour to find the real human stories that resonate with all of us on a deeply personal level. The atmosphere on this particular morning in Brooklyn was bright and clear, with the warm sunshine casting long shadows across the neighborhood pavements as the day began to unfold in its usual rhythmic fashion. Walking through the bright New York morning at approximately 10:40 in the Eastern Time Zone, the acclaimed music producer presented an image of total casual relaxation, dressed in a classic New York Knicks television shirt, oversized baggy shorts, and comfortable sneakers perfectly suited for a low-key excursion. Accompanied by his sister, the celebrated fashion designer Rachel Antonoff, and a canine companion, the musician seemed to be enjoying a peaceful refuge from the demanding pressures of the recording studio, blending seamlessly into the local community. There was little in his outward demeanor to suggest that he was standing on the precipice of a massive media storm, or that within a mere 2 hours, his private life would become the subject of intense international scrutiny and breaking news bulletins. This serene domestic scene, defined by sibling companionship and the simple routine of a morning dog walk, offered a striking juxtaposition to the impending wave of speculation that would soon dominate internet forums and entertainment news outlets worldwide. The sheer normality of the moment served to heighten the intrigue, creating a powerful sense of anticipation for the millions of fans who have followed his journey from indie rock champion to one of the most influential figures in modern music history. It was a moment frozen in time, capturing a peaceful interlude just before the digital world would ignite with speculation regarding the stability of his highly publicized marriage. Yet, despite the deliberately understated nature of his casual attire and the relaxed rhythm of the walk, A singular detail emerged from the photographs that would instantly capture the undivided attention of eagle-eyed observers and cultural commentators alike. Resting clearly on his left hand was a subdued and simple accessory, a traditional wedding band that, under any other circumstances, would have drawn absolutely no notice from the passing crowds or the lenses of the paparazzi. In the light of the whispered rumors that had already begun to circulate through the industry, however, this modest piece of jewelry was suddenly transformed into a blaring focal point, radiating a profound significance that contrasted sharply with the bright and colorful elements of his outfit. The presence of the ring raised immediate, pressing questions about the true state of his marriage to the acclaimed actress Margaret Qualley, a union that had been celebrated less than a year prior in a star-studded New Jersey ceremony that captivated the public imagination. As the images of the Brooklyn Walk began to proliferate across digital networks, the simple band became a symbol of a deeper, unfolding mystery, hinting at a complex emotional reality that was being negotiated behind closed doors just hours before the world received official word of a dramatic shift in their relationship. The tension between the visible symbol of commitment on his finger and the rapidly gathering clouds of a rumored separation created a palpable atmosphere of intrigue, setting the stage for a deeper exploration of how this seemingly perfect Hollywood romance arrived at such a critical and unexpected crossroads, leaving fans and insiders alike wondering what truly transpired behind the scenes. The illusion of absolute tranquility that characterized that sunny morning in Brooklyn was decisively shattered just 2 hours after the initial sighting, when a wave of breaking news alerts sent shockwaves through the global entertainment community. Media outlets, led by authoritative reports from prominent publications, confirmed what many had feared but few wanted to believe, announcing that the high-profile marriage between the multi-Grammy-winning producer Jack Antonoff and the critically acclaimed actress Margaret Qualley had officially entered a deeply troubled phase. According to highly placed industry insiders who spoke on the condition of anonymity, the golden couple had separated after a little less than a year of marriage, with their current relationship being described in no uncertain terms as incredibly rocky. A second independent source close to the situation added a layer of bittersweet nuance to the unfolding drama, stating that while the separation was a definitive reality, the actress and the Bleachers frontman were still actively trying to figure things out. This revelation injected an immediate sense of emotional tension into the narrative, transforming the earlier image of the wedding band on the producer's finger from a simple sign of ongoing stability into a poignant symbol of a man navigating the painful, complicated aftermath of a sudden domestic fractured reality. The stark contrast between the public revelation of a marriage in crisis, the private, quiet moment of a musician walking his dog, created a lingering sense of narrative weight, as the public scrambled to understand how a romance that began with such certainty had deteriorated so rapidly behind closed doors. To fully comprehend the growing tension that led up to this public fracturing, one must look back at the subtle digital clues and conspicuous absences that had been accumulating in the days and weeks preceding the official announcement. The first major crack in the facade of their seemingly perfect union appeared not in the pages of a tabloid, but in the highly synchronized world of celebrity social events, specifically during what many considered the wedding of the century. When the global pop icon Taylor Swift and her partner Travis Kelce celebrated their spectacular July 3rd wedding, the guest list was a glittering roster of the elite, and Jack Antonoff's attendance was entirely expected given his deep, decade-long professional and personal bond with the bride. However, it was his choice of companion that set tongues wagging across the industry, as he arrived at the high-profile nuptials accompanied not by his beautiful wife, but once again by his loyal sister Rachel. Margaret Qualley's total absence from such a monumental milestone for their closest social circle immediately drew sharp eyebrows from onlookers and fans alike, especially considering that her husband has served as Swift's primary co-songwriter and creative anchor for years. While initial excuses surfaced pointing to her demanding professional schedule, specifically her commitments filming the highly anticipated cinematic project Possession, the explanation did little to calm the rising tide of speculation regarding the true health of her marriage. As the public began to look closer at the couple's digital footprint, it quickly became apparent that a quiet, deliberate erasure of their shared history had been underway on social media platforms long before the paparazzi caught sight of the wedding band in Brooklyn. In an age where digital presence is directly tied to personal reality, Margaret Qualley had quietly executed a series of maneuvers on her official Instagram account that spoke volumes to those paying close attention. Most notably, the daughter of Hollywood royalty Andie MacDowell had completely deleted a cherished gallery of throwbacks and photographs from their breathtaking August 2023 wedding celebration. Though the original links quickly ceased to lead to functioning web pages, dedicated fan pages on platforms like X managed to archive and repost the images, ensuring that the visual timeline of their love story remained preserved in the public domain even as the actress sought to scrub it from her personal history. This digital retreat was further emphasized by a highly unusual alteration to her online identity that occurred on April 28th, when Qualley abruptly abandoned her long-standing, whimsical username of @Isimo Star in favor of the far more formal and standard handle at Sarah Margaret Qualley 23. This change was particularly blaring to fans of Antonoff's musical project, Bleachers, who recognized that her original username was a direct, loving homage to a prominent 2014 song titled Isimo, a track that had long held deep personal significance for the couple. The tension surrounding their relationship was further compounded by a historical pattern of awkward public interactions that, in retrospect, seemed to foreshadow the current marital discord. One particularly telling moment occurred roughly 11 months prior to the split, during a televised promotional appearance on The Today Show, where Qualley found herself completely caught off guard by a series of direct questions from co-host Craig Melvin. After noting that Antonoff had been producing chart-topping records for Taylor Swift for a generation and had a highly anticipated album on the horizon, the journalist directly asked the actress to share insights and tell the audience about the upcoming record. Her reaction was instantaneous and painfully uncomfortable as her eyes widened in visible surprise, and she delivered a brief, defensive response, stating simply that she did not know anything about it. She proceeded to let out an awkward, nervous laugh before trying to smooth over the moment by adding that she would be excited to listen to the music whenever it was eventually released. Melvin responded with a pointed, skeptical acknowledgement that signaled he was entirely unconvinced by her claim of being completely out of the loop regarding her husband's primary creative output. This uncomfortable television exchange highlighted a strange disconnect between the lives of the two artists, raising early questions about how much of their inner worlds they were truly sharing with one another as their respective careers continued to pull them in wildly different directions. The contrast between these mounting tensions and the deep, passionate origins of their romance only served to heighten the emotional stakes for those tracking the separation. It was a love story that had initially been defined by an overwhelming, almost cinematic intensity, with Qualley openly admitting in high-profile interviews that she had experienced absolute love at first sight upon meeting the producer in the summer of 2021. Reflecting on those magical early days during a candid conversation with LUK, the actress revealed that just 2 weeks after their very first introduction, she was already head over heels in love and possessed a sure, knowing feeling that Jack was destined to be her husband. She had even confided these intense feelings to the legendary creative director Virginie Viard at a Chanel haute couture show in Paris, cementing her belief that their connection was written in the stars. This rapid descent into romantic certainty led to an engagement a mere 9 months later, publicly confirmed when Qualley debuted a magnificent, eye-catching diamond ring at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival in May of 2022. To go from such absolute, unshakable certainty to a reality where photos are being systematically deleted and insiders are describing the relationship as rocky represents a dramatic and tragic shift, leaving the public to wonder what internal forces could have dismantled a bond that burned so incredibly bright at its inception. The tragic trajectory of this high-profile romance reaches its emotional climax when contrasted against the sheer grandeur of its peak, most notably during their spectacular wedding celebration in August of 2023. Held at the picturesque Parker's Garage in Long Beach, New Jersey, the event was far more than a simple union of two hearts. It was a monumental cultural gathering that drew some of the most influential figures in the modern entertainment ecosystem. The guest list read like a roster of contemporary royalty, with global icons including Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey, and Cara Delevingne arriving in the coastal town to celebrate the love of a producer who had helped define their respective soundscapes. The ceremony itself was a masterclass in timeless elegance, with Margaret Qualley walking down the aisle as the absolute epitome of grace. wearing a stunning white halter-style wedding gown featuring a dramatic plunging neckline that captivated onlookers and media outlets around the world. The celebration was so highly anticipated that eager crowds of passionate fans famously swarmed the local New Jersey streets during the rehearsal dinner, creating a chaotic yet exhilarating atmosphere that underscored the massive public investment in their shared journey. It was a day where the future seemed entirely bright, and the deep artistic and personal connections binding the couple suggested a partnership capable of enduring the relentless pressures of Hollywood stardom. To fully understand the profound impact of this separation, one must examine the intricate web of personal histories and professional triumphs that brought these two extraordinary individuals together in the first place. Long before his fateful meeting with Qualley, Jack Antonoff had already established himself as a dominant creative force, navigating the complex emotional terrain of long-term celebrity relationships, including a highly publicized 5-year romance with the acclaimed actress and creator Lena Dunham that concluded in 2017. Following that definitive chapter, the musician poured his soul into his art, elevating his indie rock project, Bleachers, while simultaneously becoming the definitive collaborative partner for the biggest pop artists on the planet. His work with Taylor Swift alone spans a staggering 10 albums and numerous historic single releases, a professional synergy so profound that Antonoff has taken home multiple consecutive Grammy Awards for Producer of the Year, solidifying his status as an architectural pillar of modern audio production. His unique ability to craft anthems of vulnerability and resilience made him a magnetic figure, a man whose professional life was defined by absolute stability and creative genius, making the sudden instability of his own domestic life all the more shocking to an audience accustomed to his unbroken string of victories. Equally compelling is the artistic journey of Margaret Qualley, who successfully carved out a distinctive and highly respected path in the cinematic world, entirely independent of the formidable shadow cast by her legendary mother, Andie MacDowell. From her breakout performance in Quentin Tarantino's retro masterpiece to her deeply moving, critically acclaimed lead role in the limited series Made, Qualley consistently demonstrated a profound emotional depth and an uncompromising dedication to her craft. Her artistic choices reflected a fierce independence, a characteristic that initially seemed to harmonize perfectly with Antonoff's own rebellious indie sensibilities. When the two were first romantically linked in August of 2021, their union was hailed as a perfect convergence of cinematic grace and musical innovation, a pairing of two fiercely creative minds who understood the unique burdens and blessings of a life lived in the public eye. Their public debut at the Critics' Choice Awards in March of 2022 seemed to confirm a deep mutual understanding, a shared sanctuary where two rising stars could find refuge from the overwhelming demands of their exploding careers. As the months rolled on, the public appearances that once showcased their profound connection began to grow increasingly rare, with their final major outing occurring at the Grammy Awards in February of 2026. On that glittering night, the couple appeared closer and more deeply in love than ever before, mingling effortlessly with fellow music industry giants and putting on a beautiful, affectionate display for the flashing cameras. Antonoff stood proudly, with his arm wrapped tightly around his elegant wife, an image of total adoration that Qualley would later immortalize on social media with a touching birthday tribute, captioning a snapshot of the musician with the simple, heartfelt words, "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Even as late as March, the actress was actively using imagery from their iconic 2023 wedding to enthusiastically promote his latest musical single with Bleachers, a track aptly titled Dirty Wedding Dress that served as a direct, poetic reference to their own spectacular nuptials. These public displays of support made the subsequent digital erasure and the physical absence of Qualley at major social milestones all the more jarring, suggesting a sudden, sharp turning point in their relationship that caught even their closest admirers entirely off guard. The unraveling of this seemingly unbreakable bond leaves an empty space in the landscape of celebrity romance, serving as a sobering reminder of the fragile nature of human connection when subjected to the intense, continuous distortions of global fame. The quiet streets of Brooklyn, where a lone music producer still wears his wet wedding band amidst the gathering storm of breaking news, now stand as the silent witness to the end of an era for a couple that once believed in love at first sight. As representatives for the artists remain silent, and the digital traces of their shared history continue to fade into the ether of the internet, fans are left to contemplate the bittersweet reality of two brilliant creators who burned incredibly bright together, but must now navigate their futures on separate paths. The story of Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley, which began with such absolute certainty under the summer sun of 2021, reminds us that behind the multi-platinum records, the prestigious award shows, and the breathtaking fashion statements, there are real human hearts trying to find their way through the beautiful, painful complexities of life.